Ned has run the slides remotely before for an in-person meeting. He's done it while I've been up there.
Yeah, I just got.
It's totally possible.
Do you want me to run the slides? Or?
Yes. Yes, please. It worked when I was there in person at the last meeting.
Yeah, so in this case, it's fine. It's fine. Okay.
I think you can even pass control to the clicker in the front without being there now. So, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, Ned, that you were able to do that last meeting.
Okay. Not sure if I remember how to do it, but
someone will yell at us.
We can move.
You just
will.
Yeah. If you click on the clicker, there's a little page with a plus sign in it. And if you click on that, it'll give control to the clicker. That works for people too, not just a clicker.
Okay.
Like you can pass control to me the same way.
The clicker is a fake person.
The clicker is indeed a fake person. One might say it's, anyway, I won't say it actually. Fake person.
Okay. Should we get some volunteers to take notes?
Yes, let's do that. And Usama did send the link to get Ecker's thing running. The minute taker if we wanted to try it, but
I don't have any interest in trying that, but I'll take minutes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
I will do the same.
Thank you very much. Great. We have 2 minute takers. Awesome.
All right, let's dive into it. Just a reminder of the note. This essentially outlines the constraints for your participation in the IETF. I won't go into too much detail here. Please be aware of it. I will remind us about the IETF Code of Conduct. So just a few key points here, but RFC 7154 has more detail. Please extend respect and courtesy to everyone and your colleagues at all times. Have impersonal discussion. Devise solutions for the global internet that meet the needs of diverse technical and operational environments, and be prepared to contribute to the ongoing work of the group. Thanks for those volunteers to take notes. And let's jump into the agenda for this meeting. So we have chair slides, which we're doing right now. We have we're going to take a little bit of extra time at the beginning of this meeting to go through the various drafts and just look at their status and understand kind of where things are at. And then we'll move into the next talks by the various folks here. So we have CoServe, COREM, PKIX evidence, epoch markers, secure WASM, app provisioning as a report out, and then multi-verifier, and followed by privacy preserving verifiable geofence, followed by proof of process. And I don't know that I got all of the slides contributed, so if you are giving a talk and your slides are not present, please try to let the chairs know. I don't know that we can accommodate you, but please let us know.
This is Henk. I'm not raising a hand. I'm struggling with the hands tool. The hands tool is in my hand. I'm very sorry about that for any remote participant. The talk, so the presentations is a combined block. There are 3 last questions about issues for the reference interaction model in the blob that I sent. So I sent it again as a blob. So that's kind of bundled with epoch marker.
Okay, I got that. So I think we're okay.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thanks.
So let's. But I don't think I got all of them. But so anyway, we'll try to accommodate you. But really, you got to have your stuff in before the meeting starts. Otherwise, we can't make any promises. So let's dive into it. This is a list of the various adopted drafts and what status I do know. There's still some additional status that we want to collect. So we'd like to hear, primarily from the authors and Shepherd, but anyone can join in. So let's talk first about RAT's endorsements. This, I think, is ready to go, or has been ready to go for quite a while. And it's completed working group last call, but there were some folks that wanted to just kind of let it, sit for a little while. So I think we've done that. And so now I think it's time to revisit it and see if it's ready to graduate. Is there any discussion about this?
Deb is in the queue. Deb, would you like to?
Well, you've already given it to me. It's in my public queue.
Oh, then that was me. So I
Okay.
guess Ned was waiting, but when I went through drafts this past week, if I thought it was done and got agreement, I moved it.
Great.
The endorsement draft? Yeah, no, it's in my queue.
Okay. We won't spend a lot of time on that one then. Looks like we're ready to go.
Well, I
Then
hope so. I mean, I'm happy
Yes,
to give
there
it
was
back if you don't think so.
I did all the checking.
Okay, great.
So the ones I pushed over were in coordination with the Shepherd and with checks on authors. So if I hit all the buttons, it was ready.
Okay.
There was one I
so-
did not because they wanted, they were waiting on something, but it's almost done.
So next on the list is the interaction models, reference interaction models. Can someone speak to this? I believe the Shepherd review is completed. There has been some list activity, but I can't tell if it's something that we need to give more attention to.
So this is Hank at the mic. I'm in the queue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically done, as you said. We have 3 items. I want to resolve them in room. They are concise. There are actually 3 items. It's like, I think we're done. We think we're done. We're probably done. I think this is not done. These are 3 items. And when we solve them, we're done. So that is why I added them to the slide deck thing. Because I think when we address them here, we're done.
Okay.
So,
Great. So this
All right.
one is ready to go.
All right. So we'll look forward to
except
finishing
these
that
3
up.
items.
Yep. Once,
Okay.
yeah, we're going to finish those, Hank. I'm confident.
Okay. So after that, we have network device subscription. Completed the Shepherd reviews. We did get some AD feedback saying that there was some revision needed. Did that work get done? Can someone represent this?
Fine, it's okay.
Deb is in the line, so AD can go first.
No, I'm happy to let Hank go. I was wondering where
Okay.
my responses were.
Yeah, that is true. Network device subscription has, first of all, addressed the substantial comments from contributors. Thank you for the review, Deb. This is basically, unfortunately, you're the highest priority of detail, and thereby you are last in the list. And we didn't get that done. And so yeah, but that's basically everything addressing Michael said. And now we are at your thing. So you were asking me, I've give you very simple tasks, and I prioritized complex tasks first. Unfortunately, it's yeah, as you said, this can be done actually this week, like tomorrow, and then we are moving.
Okay.
All right. So Hank, as you finish things, nudge me, please. I want to make sure, we do the check with the Shepherds and everyone,
Yes.
and then we'll hand it off to Deb.
Yes, I'm in sync with Michael. So that was very important, I think, but that made me a little bit out of sync with Deb.
This is also in PubRec, right? So this is also in my hands. So I have reviewed it and given him comments. He needs to address the comments. When he
Yes.
does that and issues a new version of the draft, we'll put it in IETF last call.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I just need the answers.
All right. So next on the list is DAA. Michael did the Shepherd review, and there was some feedback that I believe was on the RATS list. Can somebody want to represent that? Michael?
Yeah, my comment was I was really lost. I thought this document was, described the protocol. I thought it did at some point, but that protocol seems to be mostly elsewhere in a DICE document. So I'm not even sure what this, I'm not sure what this document accomplishes, except for putting a few architecture words around someone else's protocol. So I don't understand why we're publishing it as it is. I thought we were going to actually have a standards track protocol, and that was my memory, but that's not the document I reviewed.
All right, just because I was pretty strict on tone elsewhere today, Michael, that could have been worded a little bit better. I'm just going to be very consistent on all that.
And this is Henk and the mic. I see where Mike is going with this. The change between the last version and this version, if you diff it, is very subtle. It's a -a in the sorry,
Well,
in the reference implementation.
I went back a bunch of revisions to understand what had happened, and I thought we were going the other direction with pulling in the details of the protocol, and so reading the document, I don't see content there that I would need to read to implement.
Yes, there are two reasons for this. So, Michael, let me interrupt you here right now. There are two reasons for this. I didn't request a working group last call for the document, first of all. And second of all, we are waiting on, we were waiting on the implementation for TPM 2.0, which is a DAA-A reference that is now in the document. And now we can do the actual experience build, and Thanasis and Jonas did basically the implementation, so credit to them. Thanasis is now a co-author, a co-editor, sorry, and that is missing. So I repeatedly highlighted that this is not the working group last call ready, and it isn't. So yeah, that is why we can't progress it right now.
I would be overjoyed to review it again. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess we're in agreement about where we are. Okay, we're in agreement about where we are.
Okay. So let's move on to ear. We don't have a Shepherd for that, and I think it's unclear kind of where we're at in terms of its readiness.
All right,
but
Thomas
it has
is in the
been
queue.
out for a while.
Hey,
Thomas.
yeah. So the document is alive and kicking. It has 4 implementation at least that I know of. It's used in a few places, using confidential containers, Verizon, and Azure now is also doing some experiments in integrating it. We just published 0.3 on Sunday, which has a few changes due to requirements coming from confidential containers and Azure, Intel, NVIDIA. So I think it's in a good shape. I'm not sure where we can declare victory because there are still a few open issues in the tracker. But I would say we are in a very healthy place. What I'm going to do is some triage on in the issue tracker and Kata 04 before Vienna to address the issues that we can address and see where we are at that point in terms of working group school readiness. We have a dependency on a subset of the R4 info model, which someone on the mailing list, I think Carla, suggested you could take ownership of, but I think this is a question for
we have that on the next slide. We're going to talk about that one. So come back to that. Next one is the evidence transformation draft. This one I don't see Fabricio online so I can represent it. Basically, this is waiting for the CORIM draft to complete working group last call, so that it's essentially it's a target. CORIM is a target for the evidence transformation draft, so we're just waiting for that to be locked down, and then we'll move it forward once CORIM is more locked down. So let's move to the adopted drafts that are expired. This is where the AR4SI draft comes into play. This one hasn't been updated. It has expired, and some of the authors, I believe, are not even working on it anymore. So I don't think Eric is working on it. I don't think Vinny is working on it. So can somebody represent what's going on with us?
I can if you want.
Please.
So exactly. So we talked with Kathleen last week, 2 weeks ago, I think, and there was this uncertainty on the editor's pool. We'd like to have some clarity from the chair, who seemed to have information that we don't have. From my perspective and Hank's, we are committed. We'd like to know who in the editor pool is leaving and is not contributing. So if that could be made clear to us, that would be awesome, because we haven't got any news from our quoters for a while.
I don't.
Thanks, and thank you.
Okay. Hank, do you have
I
information on that?
just to second that. So we are typically, we were a little bit surprised to hear from the chairs that co-authors were not talking to us, which is very surprising. But to the chairs that they want to drop off the ID, which is fine with us, but we would like to know who that is and ask that question now.
Sorry, the chair said that
I
the
think this was
document
Ned.
could be dropped. I didn't get that message.
No,
Ned.
I think what I'm hearing is that there must have been a communication that some of the authors would like to drop off of the author list. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so Vinny said to me personally he wasn't contributing, didn't plan to contribute, and was okay if he was dropped off the list. My understanding of Eric is that he's moved on to other things, and he hasn't attended a meeting for a long time. I don't know if he is contributing, but it seems like nothing's been done as the draft has expired.
So this is Hank at the queue. I didn't lower my hand. I'm just using that. Yeah, this is not what I heard. So what I heard was people want to drop off, and what I hear now is that Vinny is out of the loop, and Eric has not been the lead author of this draft for a while, and this is both is true. So I think that's our job to get our herd, the cat herding, done, right? So I would propose that we, when with we, I mean Thomas and I, and the other Thomas, of course, we can. He's like sidelining us, and so not sidelining is the right term. Cooperating with us. We will just talk to Eric and get an affirmative, because I'm very hesitant to remove a lead or editor from the lead position. That's something that can be done just by that, right?
Right. What I would ask, we can easily swap out authors as makes sense. That's at the discretion of the chairs once it's a working group document.
Yeah.
If either has had substantial comments, even if it was earlier in the document cycle and it was more than a contributor level, then they could be left on there as long as they're responsive for things like the IP questions at the end. But if they haven't made substantive contributions, then let's just remove those authors, and you don't need 5, so we could just proceed.
That's correct. We don't need 5, but I think the best code of conduct is to talk to them, and
Yes.
then we decide. Okay, please. Thank you.
So we're kind of over time.
So I'll just say quickly in my draft, it will get renewed, but it'll be informed by implementation.
Okay. And then the last one is with concise TA stores. I didn't see Russ. Is he here?
Yeah.
Carl.
Carl
I can-
and Ross. Yeah,
I
Thomas,
can
you want to
speak
go
if-
ahead? Yeah.
Yeah. So COTS is this extra payload that one can put in a quorum, right? And to carry trust anchors to the verifier. So essentially is a plugin to the quorum data model. And it's been on ice for a while, waiting on quorum to make progress. As a side note, I'd like to say that it's implemented, thanks to Carl and Sabrine for providing the implementation in Verizon, and has been available since a long time. So I think the message here is that we're waiting on quorum to complete, quote unquote, and I believe that once working plus colon quorum is done, we can resume work on this.
Okay.
I think this is my assessment.
Right.
Maybe Yogesh
Just
has other points, but
dependent on quorum then, basically.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had the same comment that it's dependent on quorum. So once quorum is complete, we can complete this one.
Okay, great. All right, so I think that sums it up for the chair slides. So let's move on to the other presentation. And I think we have CoServe. So
Hello.
All's ready.
Are you receiving me?
Yes.
we're receiving you, yeah. Can you
Okay,
control the deck? Do I have
fantastic.
to do something special?
Cool. Can I ask the chairs to advance the slides for me just with my setup? That will be a little easier.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much, chairs. So hello, everyone. I'm Paul, co-editor of the CoServe draft, and this is a CoServe progress update, which will cover both the draft and running code. I think I've got a 10+5, so I'll request we do any questions, please, brief or clarifying questions only, and then hopefully we'll get some time at the end if there's any deeper discussion. I will start with the recap. I'll keep this brief. Okay, so CoServe is the concise selector for endorsements and reference values. It's concise in the sense that it is CBOR encoded and borrows heavily from CORIM. It's a selector in the sense that it offers a simple query response model for particular artifacts that the verifier needs, such as those trust anchors, reference values, and endorse values. The draft is defining two things. It defines the query response format, which is agnostic of any particular API or transport, but it also defines a concrete HTTP API binding for running queries. So it does become a conveyance protocol in its own right, but the query language remains agnostic and could be used with other transports or interaction models. And then lastly, it's designed to be flexible with respect to supply chain structures. So artifacts can be brokered from upstream providers, they can be combined with artifacts coming from other providers, or they can be aggregated together to provide a holistic package that's convenient for the verifier. Data model has got some particular features that you can use to that effect as needed. So that's CoServe in a nutshell. So if we go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So since the last IETF meeting, one breaking data model change that we made, we removed a timestamp field from the query object. It was ill-advised to ever have that there because such volatile data in the query completely scuppers the design intent, which was for queries to encode to stable strings that can be used as cache lookup keys. So we removed that from the CDDL and also updated the implementations. That detail aside, though, actually much of the recent progress has centered around incorporating the working group feedback. And thanks, as always, to those who've taken the time to review. There was an excellent and very detailed review from Carl. We've tried to respond to most of the points from that. I think we've closed out a total of 16 issues. There were also updates in security and privacy consideration sections around the use of aggregation in particular. An appendix was added also that discusses possible approaches to endpoint discovery. As for next steps, so we'll continue to address working group feedback, of course. New reviews and fresh perspectives are always invited and welcome. We're also examining possible gaps to see whether any new features are needed in this spec. This includes exploring use cases. So there's a conversation going on, for example, with the confidential containers community right now, which has a reference value provider service in its architecture, and that might provide some CoServe integration options. And also another possible fruitful area is the addition of new artifact types, such as things like topological information, for example. Last call readiness. This wasn't a claim to readiness, by the way. The intent here was just to talk about readiness, because I think we still have a way to go. We do, of course, have this normative dependency on CORIM. So confidence in the stability of CORIM's data model is going to be essential for this to progress. COTS also was mentioned in the previous section, so we need to take a decision on whether to integrate those concise trust anchors as part of CoServe payloads as well. So there's a at that. One thing we would like to request from the chairs is that we ask for an HTTP directorate review of the draft. We have some editorial changes that we'd like to make before that happens, but I just wanted to signal today that we'd like it because I gather it would take some time to organize it. So that about covers the draft. If we could go to the next slide, please. So running code updates, a lot of work on this since Montreal, and much of it is thanks to these fine people. Thomas, of course, continues to be a superhuman collaborator at Linaro, and we are also hugely grateful to Shafali and Danos at Fujitsu, who have brought their insights and energy and enthusiasm to this project in the recent months. So let's talk about it if we would go to the next slide, please. So we have upstreamed library support now in both Go and Rust. Both of those libraries implement the full data model up to the current published draft, along with all of the CBOR support and all of the COSE signature support as well. There's some additional support in Rust on the client side. So the Rust API client library can execute CoServe queries against a server. It also pulls in the HTTP middleware support from the Crates ecosystem to enable client-side caching of CoServe results as well. So all of that is mainline in those repos as indicated. It's available today. And next slide, please. Thank you. So the much more exciting thing is that we now have a proof of concept that works end to end. It's all demonstrable. There's a fully encapsulated demo in the repo as shown. There are instructions in the README. It performs evidence verification and appraisal within a simple and self-contained command line tool. So endorsements and reference values are pulled using CoServe from a Verizon service endpoint. So this is the same project that you might have heard Thomas presenting in the hackathon roundups on Sunday. It uses ARM CCA evidence and CCA profiled CORIM and CoServe, but that's just an implementation choice, right? There's nothing inherently in this work that couldn't be expanded to other schemes with additional effort. Verizon is providing the endorsement and reference value service in this architecture. So it's providing the CoServe endpoint from which we can pull those artifacts. There's a pre-configured live Verizon service that Linaro kindly make available on an experimental basis there. And it has the CoServe endpoint switched on. So we're using that. That's our server side. And on the client side, it's all in the sort of Rust tooling and libraries. So that Rust API client library is how we send the CoServe queries to the server and get the responses back, enabled with standard caching middleware, as I mentioned. So it uses those cache control and expiry headers set by the server to cache things locally for suitable periods. So you can actually run this demo with the network unplugged while those caches are valid. The actual verification engine here is coming from CoVer, which is short for the CoRIM verifier. So CoVer is a relatively new repo within the Verizon project. It implements the verification algorithm as per the CoRIM draft, and is completely applicable here due to the high compatibility between CoRIM and CoServe. They are similar to the extent that you can literally feed CoServe results to a CoRIM verifier with just some relatively lightweight glue. And it's a cool demo. What's equally cool, again, is that none of this work is just in feature branches anymore. All of the moving parts here are supported in the mainline branches of their respective repos. And that is our running code update. And I think the next slide is just, I can just close out with the resources slides. There you will find links to the draft's GitHub repo and the repo for the demo. And I think that is me done. So thanks, Jez. Thanks, everyone. Happy to take questions or discussions.
Okay, Zen, June.
June, I think, is in the queue.
Yes, June, go ahead, please.
Can you get back to the page? I think around 2 and 3. So about the timestamp and the cache. So you see that you have said that the timestamp has to be removed. So how to ensure that this is the last cache one? So how to ensure the freshness of the caching?
Yeah, okay. So I probably should have clarified, right? So what we have done is we've removed the timestamp from the query, not from the results. So this is about making sure that a query is conceptually an identifier of the things you are querying for, if that makes sense. So if you send the same query again using standard HTTP cache key and caching semantics, it's the same URL, right? CoServe queries are just URLs. So therefore you're querying for a cacheable resource. Of course, as soon as you have a timestamp in the query, that no longer works.
Is there a possibility so that if you send some query, actually it's received, but due to the channel jitter, so that there's out of order, so that maybe the old one arrive first? Is there a certain possibility of that?
The old one arriving first.
So I mean, I query two times, but the last query arrive later.
Right.
Query for you want to query A then B, but you send it and it arrives B then A.
Yeah.
What's your result going to be?
Yeah.
Well, if you're making two distinct queries, then you will get a result for each query.
Yeah, I mean that. So if I make the query A and then I do not get the response, and then the query B, but I get the query B and then get the query A because then you will distinguish by the timestamp that you signed at the endorser side, right?
Yeah, so I think so some of these details here would be dependent on the particular interaction model and transport you were using, right? So the draft only defines one HTTP API for this, and it is, effectively a synchronous conversation you HTTP get with your query, and you get back the response. There isn't really any scope for any sort of strange interleaving or confusion between queries or response. With that interaction model, of course, you could come along and invent a new interaction model, perhaps some kind of more dynamic, pub sub kind of model where you would need to worry about things like that. But that's nothing we have in the draft at the moment would, I think, suffer that problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thomas? Oh, Thomas is off the queue. Okay, so we need to move on. So thanks for that, for the talk. And
sure.
Let's
Thank
move
you.
to the next presentation on Quorum.
Yep. I hope everybody can hear the my voice. So,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
go ahead.
Thank you. So as Quorum has been referenced many times in the previous presentation, I would be really quick to say that Quorum stands for Concise Reference Integrity Manifest, and the document conveys the information model and the data model to convey reference values and endorsements which are required by the attestation verifier. So next slide, please. So this is a brief snapshot of what we have progressed. So at the outset, I would like to thank the chairs and the area directorate for requesting the reviews, which we were requesting in the last IETF session. So we got the art review, operations directorate review, and Shepherd review. Thanks to Michael who provided the Shepherd reviews. And we have been diligently working on the review feedback. So we have almost completed 75% of the review comments, but there are still 25%. Being a long document, we get a lot of feedback and a lot of questions and a lot of clarification requests from the community. So we are working on them diligently, and things have moved quite a bit from the last IETF. In addition to that, in order to harmonize with other standards, we have enabled better interoperability with other standards, which I will explain in the subsequent slides. And there were pending features which were major features which needed a proper clarification. We have added that clarification in the existing draft, and along with that we have done general tidy up and some minor improvements. Yeah, next slide please. So section 9, which is the verifier algorithm, is quite a chunky document, quite a chunky section which details the verifier internal representation of the triples, how they are represented, how they are transformed, and we needed to do a bit of reorganization to make it more sense. And we have kind of organized it, which has improved readability to a significant extent. And this was coming generally from the community feedback. Apart from that, we are conscious about the length of the document, and there has been a few discussions on the RATS mailing list about the document being a bit long. So we tried where we can make it more consistent and crisp. And as part of that effort, we realized that whatever optional phases of verifier internal processing that is slightly out of scope of that document, we kind of removed those phases, especially the verifier added claims, the policy claims, and the how do one transform the internal representation to an attestation result. That phase 5, 6, and 7 have now been removed from the document. And as part of community feedback, we have tidied up the implementation status. I think Paul already mentioned we have a Rust library in project version, which is Quorum RS, and the Quorum based verifier or Quorum processor, we call it often, Cover, which has also been referenced in the previous presentation, is present in open source project version. And apart from that, there was some feedback on the flags map, which were tidied up as part of the review. Yeah. Next slide, please. So I will go a bit detail about what are the major changes which went in. So you know probably about SCIT, which is also an IETF standard. Now it is actually becoming a standard. It's out of the draft queue status. So authors and implementers of SCIT requested that we make Quorum, which also conveys reference values and endorsement, be fully interoperable with the supply chain format. So as part of their request, we enabled support for COSE detached payloads, which means now you can use nil payloads as one of the features and enable the suitable headers for conveying those detached payloads as part of in Corim. So Corim can convey detached payloads now. And hash envelopes is a new thing, which is going to be an RFC shortly, where you provide the hash of a payload as actually the content in the payload. And then you can refer where exactly is the payload resides is part of the COSE header. So that is also now fully interoperable. So these two are now supported as part of the development in this IETF window. And the summary of changes are simple, where we clarified the protected header map, what would be the fields that are required for these two options. And now that we are not conveying just the unsigned Corim as part of the COSE sign1 payload, but in addition, we are conveying a beaster, which is hash, which carries the hash. So that change has been done in the document. Yeah. Next slide, please. So there was one outstanding item which was there, is to document the domain dependency triple. So Ned and the team has made quite a huge amount of effort to document domain dependency triples. Then on a request from a few implementers, we tidied up the conditional endorsement series triples, which I will explain in the subsequent slide. And how do we do the key verification for keys which are applied post deployment, that has been made crystal clear. And then as part of the domain dependency triple, we realized we need to clarify further on the domain membership triples. So that is also been incorporated in the document. Yeah. Next slide, please. So domain dependency triple, can you please click Ned? I think this, sorry, why is the text not appearing? Because
I'm not seeing text.
Oh, you have not uploaded the right slide deck, it seems.
I approved whatever was uploaded.
Okay, is that way I can quickly share my screen?
We can try it.
Yeah.
You need to ask for it and then he needs to approve it.
Yeah, I have asked for it already. Okay, just hold on. Okay, I might as well share the entire screen. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, so we were on domain dependency triple. So we merged PR 502, which was a chunky PR, which described what exactly the domain dependency triple means. It is essentially used for putting dependency between different domains, so to speak. Domains are in fact environments, target environments. So you can say in case of DICE search chain, how the layer 1 is dependent on layer 0 and layer 2 is dependent on layer 1. Such kind of a dependency can be suitably expressed as part of the domain dependency triple. And this means there was an internal representation, ECT, we call environment claims tuple, that needs to be defined for this this triple. And this actually added a trusty nomenclature, which means that which are the dependent ECTs that the current ECT depends on. So that establishes the trust chain. So before the current ECT's appraisal can be complete, you need to complete the appraisal of the dependent ECTs. And several use cases are there in the document to explain the concept and how it can be used to it can be used in the appraisal procedure. So I move on to the next slide. So the key takeaways to be understood is that domain dependency triple are not used to instantiate the domains. The assumption is that the domains exist, and how do you instantiate the domains? That is instantiated using domain membership triples. So you define the domains using domain membership triples, and then you establish the trust using the domain dependency triples on those which are already instantiated. And it is important to understand that the appraisal of and the processing of domain membership triple is fundamentally required before one appraises the dependency established in the domain dependency triple. And trustee ECT are a new type of ECT that exist in the appraisal claim set and are used by verifier or relying parties to evaluate the trust relationship, such as the layered attesters as mentioned in RFC 9334. And there is a clarity in the document to say that we should not have a cyclic dependency, which means A depends on B and B depends on A, because such kind of dependencies and can cause problems. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I will just mention about other features which were quite important. Like the previous CDDL for conditional endorsement series triple had subject as stateful environment, which means a condition, an environment with a state which is provided by the reference. But because the condition, and in addition to subject, there was a condition. So because the condition can contain parameters, so and the measurement or the reference in the stateful environment became optional, and it is fully backward compatible. Similarly, the key verification triples were having a problem that sometimes not all the keys are deployed in the device on the attester at the production time, but the keys do get dynamically generated post deployment. So how does one verify when the attester has keys which are deployed, which are provisioned after deployment? So in that case, you need to provide an endorsement triple to specify the keys, and this key triples are treated as endorsements during the appraisal, and that's how you would complete the appraisal. Apart from that, as I mentioned earlier, the domain membership triples, the comparison section has been elevated to convey that the domain ECT, DMT ECTs needs to be compared against not just reference value, but also with not just the evidence environments, but with the corroborated evidence ECTs, in addition to evidence ECTs. Yeah. So yeah, we are frequently kind of need to do this exercise of removing the duplicates which are already progressed in the existing drafts. So we had a digest type as a native type in Corim. We moved it and referred it from each measured components, which is ahead of the queue. And so we have tidied up correct. We refined the Corim processor diagram. So if you refer to the document, it very clearly shows how the Corim processor and how the Corim are used right from the supply chain and in the appraisal procedure and to produce the output for the next phases. And we have tidied up the security considerations and moved the common parts to the RATS endorsement document and referenced from here in the Corim, from the Corim document, as the RATS endorsement document is already out of the queue. So as I mentioned, the next step is we are still working on the tidying up a bit of section 9, along with some trying to see if the pseudocode can be better represented. This is just a thought which we are working on. Then editing passes to fix typos, normative text. Such kind of cleanup is still a work in progress. And we are as I mentioned earlier, we are completing the review feedback. Potentially, we hope that we'll complete it in next month or so, month or two, so that we can come to the state of logical closure. And thanks to Kathleen, who reviewed the document and kind of gave her valuable feedback as well, which we will incorporate in the coming month. And there are few like 8 or 9 must fix issues in the GitHub repository, which we complete. So with that, still that completes my presentation on Corim. Thank you all who reviewed the document.
Okay. Thanks, Yogesh. And if there's nobody on the queue, I'm happy to take some time back because we're a little bit behind. The next up would be JP on PKIX evidence.
Actually, because Hank is on site, he volunteered to present it on our behalf.
Fantastic. Hank, are you there? Can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm the mic now. Wrong mic. Should I go to stage? I guess I go to stage now, right?
Only if it makes a difference for the people in the room.
Well, now I'm here. Hi. I have a monitor. It's far away. Okay. Hi, I'm Hank. We'll talk a little bit about our evidence encoding for HSMs, which is the current title. That might change still, but I think that is better than before. Next slide, please. Yeah, I will use the big screen. So, yeah, as I said, the title has changed, and I think we are better now, but I think there might also still be room for improvement here. There's some old school remote attestation talent here. Dave Thaler was so kind to give some advice. That's great because in RFC 9334 terminology is now better represented. The horrible term attestation services dealt with. These are now testing environments, and everything that, again, this is a little bit PKX heavy, was called an attribute, is now a claim that also better resonates with the RATS terms. There's a presenter role in the diagram. I think that caused a lot of discussion. We will come back to that later and talk about that diagram a little bit. In general, we are really productive. I mean, we are weekly meeting on a fortnightly basis, and we are closing more issues than we are creating. I think this is pretty obvious from the slide. And also we are doing actual implementation work. So I have to highlight Mike and JP here as the spearhead of implementation. They did a hack at the hackathon at TON, and they also do between the meetings. So please, get some credits assigned there. And then so when I see test vectors, here, that's, I think, a little bit of an outdated term. We don't want to include test vectors in the documents. They are examples, and we are currently call them samples, but also that will be a topic later on the slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is an outcome. I guess this is the best thing to have, running code. We generated in Python, and basically the verifier is working now. That is, today, that might be a bad term, vibe coded, but a lot of unit tests show us that the verifier is working very well. So I think I want to say it was a very efficient hackathon activity. And the samples we have in the document act as test vectors for that code. I think that's the right terming that we want to use here. And we are pretty satisfied with the outcome. So whatever we could do inconsistently with the content of the ID today has been done at the hackathon. Again, shout out to the 3 hackathon people that are not here, but in Gather Town. Next slide, please. There you go. So Hannes, JP, and Mike gathered in the Gather Town. And as a side note, it's a little bit sad that it seems to be expensive to retain this service all over the IETF. Because the people at the hackathon couldn't re-meet during the meeting. But that is, again, a side note. This is all very much too small for me to read. So so I want to say this is a glimpse into what happened, and they were there all the time. Gatherthon works, and I think now we have a good way of understanding how we interoperate when nobody is on site doing implementations. Next slide. This is just an example, so to speak, but the code generated, again, vibe coding today is a tainted term, but it turned out to be great in this case. So it was clean, and it was mostly correct. Some human intervention required, but I hope that is clear today. Still, we need the human in the loop. Next slide, please. So some of these samples / examples are now in the appendix. We have found out that you can lead in and lead out a PEM with any text. So we have now begin evidence. I like that. There's no rules speaking against it. I hope. We couldn't find any. That's in the ID text. Ned, you wanted to say something?
Sorry, chuckling.
Okay.
I don't have anything to say.
Okay. So that's basically you copy paste that from the draft, put it to the example code, and see what happens. So great. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is something that was a little bit maybe confusing or contentious or maybe not very clear last time. We have a presenter. So why? There's some thing happening here. It's called an attestation request in the reference interaction model. This is a request evidence operation. And the request evidence operation can have a claim selection as a parameter. So some presenter, some role, some entity can go to the attester, which is the HSM at the CRA, and can just request claims. But if you're not the right tenant, if you're not the right responsible party, if you're not the right authority, then you can't get at them all, because this is about keys and very, very sensitive stuff. So whoever you are, you must authenticate first. And then based on that authentication, like, oh, you cannot see that key. You can't just collect that information from the HSM. So that's one of the presenter's roles here right now. So it's basically a filter for what a claims collection set can look like. So whatever you want to collect, you can only get what you're authorized to get. So that's a presenter's role. In order to do that challenge response interaction, it requires a nonce, and that is actually issued by the verifier. That's step one. I started reading the step two because that's a really interesting part, I think. But also the nonce is not created by that entity. Sorry, the role. Sorry, that's a presenter. So nonce acquisition happens. You select some claims. Via the authentication, it's selected by the HSM what you can actually get. It might be a subset of what you want to get, and then the presenter really has all these claims and gives it back to the verifier. Next slide, please. We have a lot of ASN1 in here, but there are three really important categories. We can talk about the platform. We can talk about the keys. I think that's very straightforward because these are platform attestation, key attestation, yada, yada, and about the transaction. So when a transaction happens, whatever I just said, the authentication, the nonce, all this is data that you want to also talk about when you get a return structure. So in the return structure, because this is ASN1, for example, you find your nonce in the transaction part of the response. That is why there are three items here right now. And yeah, I think with that, I think I've said on the slide. Yeah, I only have 2 minutes left. Let's go with that. There was some discussion on the use of any. I think there's an old ASN1 from 1988, I think. And there's a younger ASN1 that's also old. And so any is bad. And that's clear. So because that's way too arbitrary. And now we have classes here, which is basically a choice. On the right side bottom, you can see the claim value choice. This might also not be the ideal solution because it is a little bit in the weeds. But I think it's way better than the any. But we are working on that to make it, I want to say, viable in a scope of modern ASN1, if that is actually a thing. So I think we are progressing here, but this is way better than before already. But we're showing the current state that we could agree on for easy progress and simple progress right now that everybody understands. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is planned. We're looking into the thing that EAT has. EAT has contexts that are nested in other contexts that are called user mods, I think. Submods in EAT. We call them user mods because any responsible party storing keys in the HSM can also store some processing code, like a crypto algorithm, in a dedicated, isolated environment in the HSM. That's a capability that the dedicated HSM now has. Now we have talked about the entities platform, key, and transaction. We might also want about this individually stored capability, I want to call it like that. And that's called the user mod today by the HSM community. And we probably also want to have attestation about that. Oh, my time is almost over, but we're also at the end almost. So then we have the EQU, which is a little bit of an interesting topic that came up in LAMS. LAMS told us to do EQUs here in RATS. I think that's a dedicated discussion that we can't really delve into here right now. And the real goal was to have functional code. And that started here at the IETF, and we will continue to do that. But the real good message is we have that functional code. And the goal is to reach working group last call. I think there are a few loose ends still, but we had made a significant and great progress. This is a personal point of view. And now there are 2 people in the line, and my time already is over.
June?
Hank, I have 2 small questions. The first thing that you have show that you have used Viber coding. So there's some minor errors. So do you find there's some special patterns for these kind of minor errors so that we can know in advance? Or we can have a document of if we use Viber coding for those RFC documents, what kind of minor errors we can see in advance?
The code is not part of the ID. So first of all, whenever you use an AI agent, please attribute this in an acknowledgement. That's a nice idea. But this is part of the code that is referenced as what I say BCP 2.8 in the document right now. But we're not doing that. So yes, you're right. That should be highlighted if we are using some agent to do code. Also, it was, I think, to expedite the hackathon. This will not be the end result. The end result will be all human vetted code, and we have a lot of unit tests to do that. So you're in principle correct, but this is an intermediate step, and I think we are in a gray zone here because it's not mentioned, so it's not part of the ID, it's just part of the code generation. So yeah, in principle correct. If anything of that ends up in the ID, it will be mentioned as that, if that's sort of thing.
Okay, so for the second thing that, so for the presenter, so the evidence, final evidence should be signed by the presenter, use the private key of the presenter. Right.
No. So that's a good question. So evidence is an interesting term here. We were discussing if this is a trusted self-assertion of the HSM or it's evidence about the HSM. We just went with the TPM also gives you capabilities about itself signed by its attestation key.
Okay.
So in principle, that makes it evidence. Is it evidence though? Or is it a TPM trusted self-assertion because you endorse the TPM? So same here. It is talking about itself. And thereby we have in the diagram a target environment. So as long as we're talking about the target environment contents, it's evidence. As soon as we're talking about the capabilities, and that may include user mods, I'm not entirely sure where they're stored. It might be a trusted self-assertions. There might be a demarcation line that we have to be stronger in text about in the ID. I personally don't know where the demarcation line is today. I think that's one of the things we have to find out until 1.26. But yeah, in theory, you're correct. Everything under the umbrella of evidence is sounds a little bit fishy, but we are using the evidence generation mechanism to sign it. So it is on that key. So if you would look at the EQU, it would say evidence. And there's a little bit of a tricky realm here. But I think
let's leave it offline.
Exactly. Let me do this offline. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Russ is on the queue.
Yeah. Hi, Russ.
Hello. So just I'm not going to repeat everything that got put in the chat, but basically the IANA designated experts for the EKU registry will work with you to get one assigned for this, and so that the protocol and the EKU that are related are both in the same document. That's better for implementers.
Yes, and this is what I got from LAMS, that we are now allowed to do that in RATS. I think it's very important to us that we are in the EKU OID realm. So that's not just an arbitrary, I don't know, OID arc from, I don't want to diss that now, other organizations or other people actually, but we are in the proper place. But if we can do an assignment request with Jana in the proper place, that would be awesome. Then we don't have to burden lamps with it. Yes.
Yeah, and it looks, I just took a look, it's a short draft, so maybe this is one that we could rush through a bit quicker.
No, we'll just merge it into this one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is how it feels like it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Mike?
Right, Kathleen, we're not going to bring the whole document. We're just going to add the one sentence that says, please add this OID and tuck it inside this draft.
Okay,
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So Hank, I think you're up next, so you just stay at the mic.
I'll just stay here. Okay, hi, I'm Hank again. This is about the epoch markers ID that has been living at the adopted queue for a while. Next slide. And we made significant progress on the items that were reviewed, and there were maybe some things to improve. So I want to give special thanks to Summer, who was like, security considerations, please. And the document shepherd, which is Jeremy, which obviously also highlighted that. So all the detailed additions are a little bit hard to put on very many slides. So I think I put a subset here. I think Osama is at Catalyst in person, so he might not be able to comment on this, but I feel like we addressed like 99% of all of it. This is just an excerpt. I'm not going to all of them. I think the key compromise of the bell is very important. We have something that is an issue about that later. The IANA considerations are now really nice. The security consideration and big shot of Inuit there are now excellent. Next slide, please. I think I highlighted that no, not on this slide. Okay. So back in the days, an epoch marker had its own very concise container. I want to say that. And we got feedback from the working group, feedback from individuals that really want to use some of the types and not all of the types. And they were like, but why do I have to use the outer structure? I don't want that. I really just want the epoch ID type. And the epoch marker is then created by me in this context. And we were like, okay, that makes sense. But you need to read a fallback. So what we retained is a CWT claim. It's called EM for epoch marker, and that you can put in your CWT. And we have a good example how to do that as a basis on based on the RFC 3161, the TSA trusted timestamp token emission. So you can challenge, respond, and epoch bell. And as one of the examples, using the very first epoch ID type, that is CBOT time, and nonce request that with a challenge. Get a CWT that obviously has a nonce claim now, we know that, and ETH back, and also the EM claim back. So that is, in a nutshell, a very concise, slim alternative to the relatively old 3161, and we use that as a consistent example throughout the document to highlight if that is fine. Having said that, back in the days when 3161 was created, you can really read the document if you squint close enough. You see they wanted to create a timestamp token, and someone told them, hey, we need a protocol for this. And the protocol really leads like an afterthought. So we are creating a message here again. And now my question is, and that we don't have to clear that here, we can do that offline on the list. Do we also need to define a tiny challenge response protocol for that? Or are the interaction models enough, which tell you, oh, we have challenge response, we do a nonce, you get claims back, this is one of the claims. So the question is, do we have to define a dedicated protocol, how to retrieve this example that we are always talking about this document, or is it not necessary? So again, I don't need a answer for that right now. I just wanted to put out the question so you're not making a mistake. Any questions about this right now? Otherwise, I continue. Going once, going twice, continue. So yeah, here are the real thanks again, Jeremy, Shepard, gazillion of things in the Shepard review, very thorough. June provided, I want to say, very applicable feedback that you didn't have to think hard about, like, yeah, this makes sense, there's a good suggestions, just put it in there. So thank you for that. And Unit, who's now a co-author for the extensive, detailed suggested changes, as well as the participation on improving the security considerations. And Carl, of course, who always reminds us, where's the response, by the way. So so everybody is doing their part here, and it's really, really great. We also want to thank the implementation feedback from Michael, Mike, and Diego. Diego has the Providence stuff in Yang, which also is using Cibo and Cozy, and he's like, well, this is excellent. So so this is all good feedback that we got from the community. On the other hand, Jeremy recommended in his Shepard review already in October to issue maybe a SecDir review. Sorry, no, definitely a SecDir review and maybe an IoTDir review. This is a question to the chairs. Do we still want to do that? It sounds good to me, but it's also pretty late now. I don't know. I'm stopping here for maybe some opinions from the chairs.
I don't have an opinion right now.
Okay, we can get that offline again. And then lastly, I just didn't want to brush it under the carpet. Jeremy recommended to do some Cozy review. As I said, we removed the outer structure. There is no specification of how to sign this anymore because we are falling back in the examples of CWT. That's very clear how to sign that. So I don't think this comment can apply anymore due to the recent changes that are from other feedback. So if there's no response here in the room, that's fine. I just wanted to bring it out here. If someone is recording or reading the minutes, we can talk about that offline. Hearing no direct comments or seeing nothing already in the queue. Actually, I can't see the queue. Okay, I would say next slide. Yeah, same with the, so this is kind of redundant. So we have issues. So I would close that issue if there's no feedback on my previous question. And then processing rules. So I think that's the only thing that we're really not great about, but we got some good feedback from LAMPS. We can do our EKU stuff here now. We got official precedent now with CSR attestation. So I think we can just add an EKU for Epoch Bell in the same manner as the TSA has in RADS. So I think when I wrote the slides, I didn't know the answer. I think I now know the answer. Would the chair disagree that we can, like in CSR attestation, do the EKU in the same document? Or is there anything speaking against this? This is a question to the chairs online.
It seems fine to me.
I agree.
Yeah, and I also, which is great because it saves us a lot of hassle going from and so forth. So yeah, next steps. We have only then this open issue. I think the other open issue doesn't apply anymore. We do not have a privacy consideration section. I want to highlight that explicitly. It's very hard for an Epoch Bell to have a privacy section. We thought about hard, like we brought it up like 3 times in the internal meetings, and we couldn't come up with any. So if anybody has a real privacy consideration why the Epoch Bell document should have that, please tell us. We couldn't come up with a good reason. And then again, the issue 64, which we will include and which probably should, same answer as Mike, a few sentences and some Ariana stuff and done. So this is, I think, the last slide. Any more questions on this?
There's someone in the queue.
Yeah, please.
Antoine here. So regarding the privacy consideration that I see with an epoch going on for this kind of thing is that usually when you have an epoch, you have a way to progress the epoch over time, and this is predictable. One thing that you can do to improve privacy is to add some sort of, you say that it's augmenting, but with an increment that is variable, and this variable increment helps you not being able to track which epoch you're in when you observe the protocol from the outside. Usually in such protocols, this is what you put to improve privacy. So maybe this is something you can add, but other than that, I agree with you. It's
okay. Yeah, that is fair point. Also, in order for me to remember this, when after jet lag I get home, maybe it's find a tiny issue. It's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, so it seems like there might be a broad privacy consideration for lots of, there are a lot of attestation claims that maybe have privacy concerns, and it seems like we could address that concern by looking at selective disclosure mechanisms as sort of a broad brush way to apply that generally to like all of the different claims.
Yeah, but that's an each problem, isn't it? So that's not
I'm just saying, as opposed to looking at every single claim individually and having a privacy considerations section for each type of claim and addressing them, in a piecemeal way. I'm just throwing this out as, food for thought. Does it make sense to have for us to be as a working group to look more broadly at how might selective disclosure mechanisms apply generally to anything that has a attestation, evidence payload in it?
Absolutely. So SDCWT is in the progress of arguing how the simple values for key and value work. If that is cleared, SDCWT and SPICE working group should be pretty done. I'm a co-author there. And yes, it is highly relevant, I think, for example, for the exposure of selected claims in CSR attestation. You could just give them all and only discuss some, right? So that would simplify the DAS for the HSM. Maybe not everybody wants this, but it is definitely a tester objective to simplify exposure, especially if the evidence is passed along a value add graph, aka supply chain, and then only some of them should know some things, and the disclosure could be done across the chain. So yes, that is absolutely a fine topic, but I think that's a different idea.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Seeing sorry?
2 minutes, basically.
I have to save some time because at the very first presentation I gobbled up some time. So we can just move on. Oh, it's for both presentations. Okay. Yeah. And I'm going really fast. Reference interaction model. Thanks everybody, including Kathleen for her and everybody for the excellent reviews. There are 3 open issues, open-ish issues. So that I think are somehow addressed and maybe not sufficiently addressed. So this is the first one. And that's from Michael's Shepard's review. And we are kind of using the term broker and we're capitalizing it. So on real first use, which is like laid down in the document, we're capitalizing it where it's introduced by itself. And now as a hotfix, I just decapitalized it before then. Maybe we should just not use capitalization for the term at all and just make it complicated due to that. Is that a good thing? I don't really know how to deal with that. Other options, other opinions here in the room, because I think if someone could say, yeah, just don't capitalize, be done with it, I would be okay with that. Would there be any objections? It's just
sounds fine to me.
Tiny feature. Okay, then that's good enough for me. Next slide. We can also do other opinions offline. So I think we addressed this one here. Yeah, I don't even know what to ask. I think we addressed this. I'm reading and I'm not reading it out loud. But I think our security considerations do now address this subsection feature. Sorry, do not address a subsection, but we do not know what to. I think it's not applicable. I think Thomas might be here to add to that. We don't know how to react to this comment.
So I think maybe this is. I think you may be referring to some of the discussion online on the list. So if you think it's
Yeah,
addressing
but mutual
those
authentication for a bell, this is out of scope of the document. I mean,
then
I would just say
right,
no.
if that's the point, then bring it up with the list and just make sure
Yeah.
that it's resolved there.
Okay. So this was like we don't really know how to react to this. We really thought it through. Mutual authentication seems like a various layer above. And the last slide for this document is the last issue, again an air quote. Next slide, please. And I think we resolved that. So there are two contents that are bringing into context other conceptual messages. My ordering is a little bit off. So the second item, so the below item, the same interaction models, yada, yada, yada. I think that's actually perfect. I think that's great. Thomas highlighted that the first item might need some tinkering, but I can't think of any. And he also was like, this is good enough. Both say that other conceptual are out of scope, but we have to highlight early that this reference interaction models are not strictly exclusive to evidence. You can write other IDs based on this and bring it in, but it's out of scope for this document. And the second one is pretty clear on that. So what the first phrasing might need some tinkering. Maybe there's some input we can get from the working group for that.
All right, looks like you're on the last page because you're over on time.
Yeah, I'm on the last page. So
right,
if there's no hard feedback on the first one, we keep it because again, it says out of scope. But even Thomas said like, yeah, maybe there's some room for improvement, but we couldn't find any good one. And that's it. If those are cleared, we're done. Then the working group last call can conclude.
All right, we're going to switch quickly to June's talk because we're 5 minutes into that now, time-wise. Thank you, Hank. Sorry to end that abruptly. It was necessary for time.
Yeah, so Ken is going before June.
Oh,
so
goodness.
Maybe we can just,
Yeah, let me quickly, briefly.
Quickly go through that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, hello everyone, this is Ken Takayama. In this talk, I'd like to share what we learned about evidence design by implementing a remote attestation flow in the hackathon and comparing related work in LAMPS and SEET. Next slide, please. The main takeaway is simple. When you design a protocol that uses remote attestation, you must consider two independent aspects: what you bind into the evidence and how you transport the evidence. Next slide, please. Let me briefly explain the TEEP protocol. TEEP provides trusted components into a remote TEE. It requires mutual authentication between the TAM and an agent in the TEE. But it does not mandate how cryptographic keys are established. Remote attestation is optional, and even the precedent mechanism is not fixed. This is intentional. TEEP is designed to independent of any specific attestation technology or TEE architecture. As a result, the protocol defines how evidence can be transported, but it does not define how evidence should be constructed. That responsibility is left to the protocol user, so me. Next slide, please. Our hackathon goal was to establish trust in the TEEP agent's public key within the TEEP protocol flow. The key is generated inside the TEE and bound to hardware evidence. We implemented this on Intel SGX. The TEEP agent and the WASM runtime share a single enclave, and the trusted component is later provisioned as a WASM application. However, when we designed how to generate the evidence, so it is called quote in Intel's terminology, we encountered a fundamental problem. Next slide, please. Not only Intel SGX, but also all TEs we examined can measure the enclave or VM state. So measuring measuring the tip agent itself is not the issue. The real constraint is the report data. In SGX, TDX, and AMD SEVS, only 64 bytes are available for user-defined binding. But in practice, a nonce plus public key often exceeds 64 bytes. So we cannot directly place the raw data into these enclave formats. This forces us to use hash and transport the original data separately. At this point, evidence is no longer a single blob. Next slide, please. Thanks to related IETF work, we now have a cleaner sense of how to proceed. Different specifications take different approaches. TEEP and CSR attestation provide extensible message formats. On the other hand, C document takes the opposite approach. They define a concrete binding structure and how it is transported in TLS. These are different design choices for the same underlying problem. Next slide, please. The main takeaway is this evidence design has several independent axes. What you bind, how you construct it, how you bind it with real evidence format, and how you transport the evidence. Hardware evidence alone is often not enough to carry all the claims you need. So if your protocol leaves these choices to the user, your message format should be extensible. Thank you. Next slide, please. Maybe, yeah. That's all.
Okay, you have folks in the queue.
Hello. So I have noticed that so in your implementation, the nonce is generated by the relay party. Actually, so this is similar to the remote attestation over AThoc in the Lake group. But in some document drafted in the working group last call, I have give the comments, but I'm not sure that they are taking that into consideration or not. So whether the nonce should be generated, can be generated by the relay party or not. So
it must be helpful for me. Thank you.
So I think that this can be some general discussion maybe in the chat to see that everyone agree with that or they have some comments for that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have just one quick question. You have your work on it looks like a private repository. So I just wanted to check if you go back to your slide number 3, where you have the block diagram. Sorry. The one which has the multiple blocks where the version is shown. Do you have a plan to kind of upstream this work into version repo as well for the Intel SGX scheme?
Actually, we published we made these repository public, and at this time there is no. Of course, I have personal implementation to extending version, but at this time I'm not going to request to merge anything to the mainstream version project.
Okay, we can discuss offline. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's move to the next talk. This is remote attestation with multiple verifiers. And make sure I got the right deck. And June, are you presenting?
Okay, so I'm here. So you can go to next page. So we have some make some modification since last IETF. So we add some definition of the partial evidence. So actually, so it can be one or several evidence that shared between the verifiers. And we have updated the part in the security consideration. So now we have changed the words about the TCP. So we'll say that the verifier is not a part of the attested TCP, but act as the critical components in the related parties trust decision chain. So now it's has nothing to do link the verifier with the TCP of the attester. And in the privacy consideration, we have highlighted that with multiple verifier, we can improve the privacy, but depends on the design of the multiple verifier system. And we, in the next page, we'll see show some progress on the implementation on the project Verizon. Next page. So we have some ongoing implementation of the leader verifier in the project Verizon, which is an open source remote attestation protocol. So you can see that with the CE handler, we can treat with the component evidence from the attester, and we can pass these composite evidence and feed it with different verifiers, like the verifier for NVIDIA and Intel. So for the latest progress, you can check the lead verifier Verizon project showing this page. Next page, please. So we have seen that in last IETF, we have reached the consensus, and we would like to launch the call for adoption. And thank you.
Okay, I unlock the queue. Is there anyone have any questions?
This has been talked about a number of times, so we appreciate your patience. We can do a poll to see what the working group thinks about taking this on. And we can follow up on list.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to poll now or on the list?
Why don't we poll now and get an idea? We have 64 people, you know, some of which stayed up all night, so. Are you writing the poll, Ned, or am I?
I am. I'm saying,
okay, so I'll stop.
Is the multiple
Okay.
verifiers draft ready for adoption, yes or no?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, and if anyone thinks we have to clear more work out first, we'll have to figure out what that line is.
Do you want to do a follow-up poll with that question?
Actually,
Looks like
yes.
this is, I mean, this we
That would
have
be-
so 15 and 0 no's and a handful of no opinions. So I don't see any no's.
Okay, great. I would say if somebody says no, then they can come to the mic. Otherwise, we will keep pushing to get more documents out, and this has to go to the list for at least a couple of weeks. So if we can get more of the documents out in the meantime, then I think we'll be good.
Okay, thank you.
And
All
what
right,
was the
so other
question again?
authors, does that sound good? No, I think there was no no's, right? So I'd
Yeah.
say if anyone wants to come to the mic, they can.
Did we want to ask about timing?
Well, we have to go at least a couple of weeks on the list,
Okay.
right?
All right. Fine.
And then we'll give the authors of the other draft some time to keep progressing.
Sounds good. Hank is on the list.
Yeah, I'm not 100% clear, but so we will issue an adoption call on the list now, but that will be for 2 or 3 weeks, and in that time you can still move something out. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
We're being
Thank you.
very agreeable. You worked hard between last meeting and this, everyone. So we want to keep it up a little bit. I want to keep the pressure on a bit. But then allow this to move forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Okay.
And Ned.
Are we
Thank
done
you all.
then? All right. Well, let's go to the next talk then. This will be privacy preserving verifiable geofencing. Diego.
Hi, my name is Prasad. I'm actually substituting for Diego. Can you
Okay.
folks hear me?
Can hear you fine.
All right. I'll get going on the slides now. So this talk is about verifiable geofencing for workloads. The problem we are trying to solve is simple to state, but hard to solve well. How do we prove that a workload is running on approved hardware in an approved geographic zone, and only then issue it a credential that others can trust?
Should I
That's
be
the
on
question.
slide 2 or?
No, we can move to slide one. Next slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me when to flip it.
Apologies. I think the slides have not kind of come out. I still see the, yeah, okay, all right.
You tell me what slide you want to be on.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ned. So the motivation is that today's controls are mostly soft signals, not hard proof. Software-only identities can be stolen, replayed, or proxied. IP-based geolocation can be spoofed. Region labels and unsigned location metadata are useful operationally, but they do not create a cryptographic link between the workload's identity, the integrity of the platform underneath it, and the workload's actual physical residency. So the gap is not just we do not know location precisely. The deeper gap is that we cannot cryptographically prove that a sensitive workload is running on the right machine in the right place at the time we issue or honor its identity. Next slide, please. Thank you. The key point on this slide is that the V gap builds on existing RATS plumbing. It is a profile, not a replacement framework. What it does is bind credential issuance to two hardware-rooted proofs. First, platform integrity, and second, geographic residency. Architecturally, you can think of this as a 3-layer trust chain. Layer 1 is the binding between the workload and its local on-host identity agent. This draft assumes that path comes from a separate co-location or transitive attestation mechanism. Layer 2 is what this draft adds for platform integrity. Layer 3 is what this draft adds for residency verification. Can we go to the next slide? The next page. It's a continuation. Yeah. And then the layer 3 is what this draft adds for residency verification. Together, that gives a chain from silicon to agent to workload. And there is an important privacy point. Residency proof does not have to mean exposing raw coordinates. The profile supports a privacy-preserving mode where the platform proves it is inside an approved zone without revealing exact location. In a sentence, VGAP turns geofencing from a policy assertion into attested evidence that can drive credential issuance. Next slide, please. This slide is where I would keep the attester is the host site component that produces the evidence bundle. In the draft, that is the location anchor host, and the evidence bundle includes a TPM rooted statement, location related proof material, and measurement of the on-host identity agent itself. The verifier is the host identity management plane. Its job is to validate the TPM code, check PCR and measurement policy, verify the residency proof, and combine that into an attestation result. The endorser is any trusted location authority that can sign or endorse the location claim. The draft uses the mobile network operator as an example, but the role is intentionally broader than that. Then the relying party plus credential issuer, which I would describe as the workload identity management plane, consumes that attestation result and issues the workload credential only if policy passes. Finally, the downstream relying party is just the MTLS peer or service consumer that trusts the issued credential. The design choice I would emphasize is the trust translator pattern. The attestation result is materialized into a standard X.509 workload credential with the VGAP evidence carried as a critical extension. That means downstream services can continue using the normal certificate and MTLS validation while still getting fail-closed behavior if they do not understand the extension. So in summary, the verifier makes the decision and the issuer turns the decision into a standard credential that downstream peers can enforce. Next slide, please. Actually, we can skip past this too. This is just a continuation of what I mentioned. The next page, yeah, right here. Thanks. The final slide is about scope and standards positioning. The proposal is to bring VGAP forward as a standards track RATS profile. The draft positions itself as complementary to work that encodes geographic results, while VGAP focuses on the evidence profile and verification flow that produce those results. So the ask to the working group is really threefold. First is this role mapping and trust translator pattern, the right fit. Second is the current approach to privacy extensibility sufficient. And third is about the interest in future work on proximity profiles and adjacent deployment patterns. So in closing, VGAP is valuable because it connects workload identity, host integrity, and residency into one verifiable chain. And it does so in a way that downstream systems can consume with the familiar X.509 and MTLS machinery. So we are working together, if you see in the authors list, Michael Richardson as well, who is attending the conference there. That's the end of the slide, Ned.
That's it? Okay. Do you want to go to a different slide? Otherwise, the queue is filling up.
Yeah, we are good here. Yeah, that's the end of it. End of the presentation.
Okay. Dave's on the queue.
Hey, Dave Thaler. So this is really interesting work. What I didn't see in the document or in your presentation, I'll just ask the question about, is how do you know that the latitude and longitude, since that's what's being reported, is correct, right? Because there's the TPM or the attester doesn't actually know itself. It has to get it from some external entity. But I didn't see anything that actually proved the source or provenance of the latitude longitude that's being provided by the attester. So how do you know that the attester isn't in some external location, that the GPS location isn't spoofed, and the attester just doesn't know that it's spoofed?
We rely on the sensor being attested bottom up from the TPM level.
That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that can be tricked, and that the rest of the scheme relies on that not being tricked. And if there's no security in that, how do you know that that hasn't been tricked? As long as you can provide references that say how that sensor, and then you can attest to the hardware of the sensor implementing some security mechanism that proves that, then it's solid. But without that, then I'm not sure that this is interesting to use the lat long. So that's my concern.
No, that's a valid concern. So there are two ways, right? One is the bottom-up attestation with a TPM level provenance, transitively kind of building up the drivers, the firmware drivers, and all the way up to the workload agents and so on. And the other is we can also independently go to separate verification platform. A mobile network operator can independently verify through triangulation and things like that.
All right, I'll get out of queue. Let's move to time to other people, but I'm skeptical. So I paste the example link into that, but you can do a bunch of other searches on how to spoof GPS. So
thank you. That was really helpful. So yeah, answering Dave's question adequately, I think, is really important. This taps into just a large number of drafts, not just within RATS, but across the IETF. And so there was only a few called out as references. And so I would want to see an update where those references are included, and then also a distinction between this and the work in seat.
Kathleen, point noted, and I've noted down Dave's question as well. Unfortunately, I'm not the deep expert in this thing. I'm just presenting at the last moment. The five of us are collaborating on various combination of standards that has interplay with each other. I will take these questions to our experts within my co-author team, and we will respond back.
Thank you.
Hello, so Junjiang from Huawei. So I have a question similar to David, so that you rely on the location provided by the mobile network operator. So in case of roaming, or the mobile network operator provide wrong GPS positions, so it's still possible to spoof the location. And the second thing is about privacy. So I think that privacy is important things to be considered. Even you mentioned zero knowledge proof, but for the user side, they are not sure that whether you implement the real zero knowledge proof or still their location can be leaked. I think this is one issue that need to be considered. Thank you.
Got it. I've noted that down as well. So we'll basically get back to you offline.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Michael Thomas. And we're...
Hi, is it working?
Oh, me or Michael?
Me first, I think.
Michael, then Thomas.
Hi. Yeah. So Dave's comments are point on. That different things can be spoofed. Mobile operator towers can be spoofed. GPS can be spoofed, although there's supposed to be a more secure version coming. And all the other ones can be spoofed. But you could also imagine that you might collect a bunch of different ones, and that a verifier may say, "Well, I think you've passed the proof, enough of proof to figure out what's going on." You can have differential GPS, which can be local, and there's a bunch of other things that can happen. But it's good for what it's good for, and it may not satisfy every relying party, and I think that's just fine. It may satisfy some, but and the other side I wanted to say is that when it comes to privacy, that may not that's very interesting for a person with a smartphone, but may be very uninteresting for if what you're trying to do is prove that a particular workload is running in a particular data center, and the data center doesn't have privacy of location. It has a sign on the side of the building. But I think that all of these, and what I tried to do in the document that was mentioned, is say, okay, so we're going to have a bunch of different kinds of evidence that are going to go in a bunch of different kinds of verifiers. But at the end of the day, what we actually want is a common set of attestation results. And so the document that was talked about merging with provides that. I'm actually not in favor of merging. I actually think that each one of these documents that does provide some kind of thing has a complicated set of security considerations, and that merging them all into one document will make it unreadable and will confuse people that, this security consideration applies to this one, but not this one, but then we'll get it wrong. So I actually would like to have a common set of results, and then a number of different ways of getting to that result. Thanks.
Tom.
Thank you, Michael, for handling the question.
Hi. Just a couple of well, nothing more than a quick question about whether you are aware of the Sovereign Certificate Working Group that's doing something very similar to what you're doing here. And another related effort, that's the platform ownership endorsement coming from, I think, Intel. Not sure whether these have been mapped. Are those two on your radar or not? And maybe have a look. But otherwise, very interesting and very timely work.
Thank you, Thomas. We will take a look at it.
So are we done? All right. So next up is David Condrey, proof of process. That's what we had scheduled. I didn't get slides from David, and I don't see that David is attending the meeting. Is David here? All right.
I don't see him there.
I'm aware that this talk was already given in Sec Dispatch. So maybe it's worth just, if someone wants to jump in and kind of recap for everybody where that work is going or headed.
Right. The consensus actually for all of dispatch was that there was a request that no decisions be made out of that because the audio cut out so frequently. The comment specific to this draft was that people found it interesting, but they would like to see more community gathered behind it. And I agree with that. It would be nice to see some experts come in who have the expertise in terms of like observing the interactions with the human computer, and some of the other areas covered. It would be nice to also see who's interested in implementing it. So it has the potential of moving towards a buff if they were to do a bunch of work and get ready for that. And basically, like if they can show interest and who would implement it, why should it be a standard? That would go a long way. It is a big body of work. I think it would be a lot for rats to take on, personally.
Okay, thanks, Kathleen, for that summary. So we have, I guess, 5 minutes of open mic time. There are some people in the queue, so maybe we'll listen to hear what the queue has to say.
Go ahead, Anton.
Anton?
I had a remark on the sovereign certificate, the geofencing work, and the fact that it's large body of work, and buff would be nice. This was the intention of the another buff like 1 year ago to pursue this work. So maybe we can refresh this buff work if there is a large body of work that needs to be done.
Absolutely, we'll reach out to you. But I didn't get the name of the gentleman who just talked. Maybe Kathleen, we can reach out to you later.
Anton?
Sure, I will. You can also contact Michael Richardson, who was involved, and I will put my name and contact in the chat.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Any other comments for open mic? All right, so if someone wants to get up, you can. I would like to put a big thank you out to everyone in the working group for the big push on documents, and just reiterate that I'd like to see that continued push so that the working group functions more smoothly, and that we can bring in new work. And you know, it's an increasingly area of increasing interest by many people. So I think if we can keep work going at a good clip and doing reviews of each other's work, it will help considerably. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. And thank you, everybody, for participating and making rats move forward. So this has been a great meeting, and look forward to continued working with you all. With that, I think we are done. So thanks for the note takers, and we will publish those notes in the minutes later on. So with that, I think we are done. So thank you, everybody.
Yes. Oh, you know what? No, we're not. We have to thank Deb. So Deb, thank you very much as our AD. She's not leaving us quite yet because she still remains an AD, and has a few documents she has still in her queue. So we owe you a very big thank you for learning all about rats and helping to steer this diverse large group.
Right. So anything that's in flight that I have in my hands today will stay in my hands until it's finished. The one draft I'm going to move is the one that you just pushed to PubRec, the endorsement draft, maybe. And I will. I'm going to hand that to Chris, who's going to be your new AD. Yay! A step up.
Well, maybe after I get my feet firmly planted on the ground, I will be leaning on them to help me to start for sure.
Yes, and thank you to Chris for your help in the future.
Fantastic. Thanks, Deb. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now let's all get some sleep.
Yeah.
Except not for us.
All right, and thank you for the remote participants, and we will be seeing you in the next IETF 126.
And if we need an interim, we'll schedule one.